Hello and welcome to the New York Farm Bureau's weekly news bite, bringing you the latest news from the New York State agriculture world.
Farmers have always been about innovation. Hi, I'm Steve Ammerman, Director of Communications for New York Farm Bureau, and welcome to News Bites. Technology, research, and new ideas have transformed agriculture through the decades, and there's an effort here in the state to help the next wave of entrepreneurs and creators increase agriculture and economic development in upstate New York. It's called Grow New York, a program started a few years ago between Empire State Development, Cornell University, and the New York State Center of Excellence for Food and Agriculture at Cornell Agritech. The goal is to cultivate growth and innovation in the agriculture sector to benefit our farms, our food supply, and the regional economy. To learn more, we sat down with the program's director, Jenn Smith, and asked her what the program is all about.
Grow New York is a state-funded food and ag startup competition that's designed to attract innovation in everything from the furthest upstream farm operations down through novel foods that you would grab off a grocery store shelf and everything in between. Distribution, storage, market, all of the different subsectors within the agri-food system where innovation and technology improvements can improve efficiencies. We're attracting those innovations into the region, and we're doing that for two reasons. One is we know that disproportionately startups contribute more jobs to the economy than existing firms and operations, right? So getting those new ideas, getting those new companies in here. And then the other reason is, of course, agriculture is central to New York's economy. Food production is central to New York's economy. The program itself is funded by the Regional Economic Development Committees for Central New York, the Finger Lakes, and the Southern Tier. They've pooled their money. We give away $3 million each year to startups in exchange for those startups' commitment to achieve certain economic development milestones or infrastructure development milestones. So it might look like the creation of 10 jobs and the building of a facility for processing X, Y, and Z. Our year two winner was an Israeli company. They won $1 million and committed to and successfully did set up an R&D lab, staffed it with 12 people in central New York. It's a poultry research center, and it deploys their technology as well as attracting other technologies in. So we're bringing these startups in, we're helping them identify the regional impact they can make, and then we're supporting them through their growth so that they get woven into the ecosystem that we have here. And in doing so, we're continuing to help strengthen that ecosystem of farmers, of food producers, of industry players, of researchers, of state agencies, of capital and funding providers, of the incubators and the accelerators throughout. So the program is built around the competition, but we also take our role as kind of coalition builders and ecosystem supporters quite seriously too.
Well, and it's really coming to a head next month. You have all the finalists coming together to make their pitches to a panel of judges. I don't know, a little like Shark Tank-esque, if you will. Right. That's how I see it, along with the conference. So it's really exciting that all of these different innovators are going to be out front and center, really, making their big pitch to you. Talk about who some of these finalists are or the kind of work that they are doing.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So we have 20 finalists. We select down. We received 390 applications from all over the world. We have the 20 finalists. Some are from real close to home, right here, in the Finger Lakes, Central New York, and the Southern Tier, Western New York, other parts of the country. And then we also have finalists from abroad as well. Some of the ones that I think would be interesting to the farmers in our region, we've got a couple of different dairy tech companies. One is a company called Labby that offers accurate, rapid testing for dairy farms using AI-enabled optical sensing. So testing raw milk and looking to other kind of aspects of the dairy production life cycle that they can work with. One of the other dairy ones is ProAgni, which has a range of supplements and feed for livestock that lowers methane emissions. We've got biochar company, Seneca Farms Biochar, that has technology that produces biochar and wood vinegar at scale, which sequesters carbon and reduces dependency on chemical pesticides. We've got another AI company that's looking at, plant development from bud to harvest to manage growth and predict yield. So autonomy, robotics, artificial intelligence, the kinds of tools that are going to help the farmers of the region, the Northeast, and the world continue to provide food while reducing the impact that agricultural practices can have on the environment.
Yeah.
We have them live pitch. We give them 10 minutes to pitch their business, and then there's 10 minutes of questions from the panel of judges. And we have, a judge from Rabobank, one from Farm Credit. We have a couple of farmers from New York State who sit on that panel as well. And they're there to represent their specialized expertise and question these startups to make sure that the investment that we make into them is going to pay off and have a return on the economy and on the agricultural sector.
You're mentioning things like artificial intelligence and things like that. People were like, how does that fit into agriculture? But if you think about it, farming really has been about innovation and moving forward for decades, if not centuries. Technology changes the industry. And really, do you see Grow New York fitting into just that ongoing trend of development for food and farm?
Yeah, the whole impulse behind the earliest agriculture is there's not enough wild. We need to produce more in order to support our society. And that's really the gist of it today, right? So how do we do that? And now, how do we do that with an eye towards climate protection and making sure that we're able to feed people while supporting environmental health? So yeah, I see Grow New York as a real beacon for the kinds of technologies that are going to make it possible for farms in our region to thrive. And I think that's part of the ongoing narrative of agriculture. I'm excited that we can be a part.
Yeah, farmers, I think, always are looking to do better and be better. And, what can come out of Grow New York really can help them do that. But it's not just about helping the farmers. You've alluded to the fact that you're looking to help the region. And what kind of impact do you foresee Grow New York having, or these finalists having, or what you've already seen over the past few years of some of the work that's been going on that can help economic development here in upstate New York?
Yeah, the easiest answer is the job creation that's coming from these startups situating themselves in the region. We've really seen that we've had over 260 jobs created from startups that have won prize money from Grow New York. Now, a lot of that has been a year one winner. So the most mature startup that we've worked with that's been working with us the longest, they've just had tremendous growth. So it's a Real Eats, which is based in Geneva, and it's a meal subscription service. And they do utilize a lot of local ingredients, like farm-grown ingredients, and then also value-add ingredients that have been produced. So their growth has been spectacular. But, all of the teams we've worked with have contributed jobs to the economy. Making or attracting companies that are going to make it easier for farms to operate efficiently is going to kind of bolster that segment. But also, just to speak about, there's a number of farmers in the region who are, particularly, I'm thinking of dairy farmers here, who are using robotic milking, using some AI. I'm thinking of some vineyards in the area that are working with researchers at Cornell to identify some of the pests and pathogens that they'll see in the vineyard. So there's the efficiency that creates, right? But there's also this new tech workforce that we need to develop. And that creates a lot of opportunity. And it also kind of opens the door to jobs in agriculture from communities that haven't necessarily had an active role in agriculture in the past generations. I'm thinking here, the Grow New York region, it's from just west of Rochester to just east of Syracuse, from the lake down to the Pennsylvania border. And so we've got these cities, Rochester, Syracuse, Binghamton, Ithaca, Geneva, and between them is this vast rural landscape. How can we create jobs not only in those cities, but create jobs using robotics and autonomy and technology in that rural interior that we can train people from the urban environment to participate in? I do think like the skills around using technology are things that we can impart to a broader group of people, right? You don't have to have grown up on a farm to understand how to, work with the software of a drone. You can be trained on that. It's a tech training that's going on in cities already, in Syracuse and in Rochester already.
Yeah, that's something that for Farm Bureau, we've been having that discussion about what's the future workforce look like and what are going to be the labor needs for our farms. And a lot of people, particularly in urban areas, and think you can work in agriculture. They think it's literally, running the tractor or picking the crops, whatever that may be, more traditional farm work. But there are hundreds of different kinds of jobs in agriculture, whether it is on the tech side, the communication side, what have you. And it's really just trying to get people to broaden their understanding of what it means to work in agriculture. And I think what you're doing here is helping facilitate that as well.
Yeah.
And that's exciting.
Yeah, it's opening doors. It's kind of building different kinds of on-ramps. In fact, at the Grow New York Summit, which is where the live pitches will take place, it's November 15th and 16th in Syracuse at the On Center. I would love to see, many Farm Bureau members participate, join us. There's a lot of great networking opportunities. In addition to the pitches, we have a symposium of panel conversations. And one of them this year is staffing the farm of the future. So what are the skills needed? How are we addressing the labor issue? Consistently, really consistently, we see labor costs and labor standards as being the most cited issues by farmers, that are constraining their productivity. So come and join that conversation and help steer things in a productive direction.
So where do you see the future of agriculture? Again, this is part of a big picture discussion that New York Farm Bureau has been having all year with our partners and our members that we'll have in a separate event come December. But as someone who's worked in agriculture in many different facets, you have a food and marketing background as well. You've worked with distilleries and cideries. What do you see as maybe a couple of big issues in the future, or where do you see the future of agriculture from your perspective?
Yeah. So New York's farms and food producers are essential to the economic, social, and environmental health here in the Northeast, right beyond New York State. And the future has to be increased regional production, and it has to diminish the environmental footprint. So how do we do that, right? How do we do that? And so in 2021, the past 3 years, we researched a report that we call the Call for Innovation, and it was intended to help innovators working in the agri-food system think about what's needed in New York, places where their technologies could intervene to relax constraints and create opportunities, right? And so the themes that we identified, that we heard from New York State's farmers, we interviewed over 100 farmers for this, are that, that labor piece, which is farm robotics and automation, direct marketing platforms, novel crop protection, biomaterials, adaptation to climate change, which can look like a bunch of different things. It can be about different crops and varieties. It can be about different practices, and supporting rural economies in part by investing in diverse young farmers. So looking to kind of use those themes to begin to define what we can do here in the region in the future.
There are a lot of opportunities. It's a lot to think about, and there's so many different avenues. But I think the bottom line is there are a lot of opportunities for New York agriculture.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. And it's exciting to think about collaborating throughout the Northeast and that kind of re-regionalizing our food system. It's exciting. And yeah, you mentioned that I have a background. I was for several years very involved in the farm-based craft beverage sector here in New York State. I helped develop some trade associations for growers and makers of, as you said, cider and also distilled spirits. That work is what helped me develop an appreciation for the diversity of kind of the different kinds of crops and the different kinds of farming that goes on here in New York State. I think that there is a lot of potential in the bioeconomy, right? In the way that we create a circular economy around farming and the way that we address waste through that. And I just think we've got, such incredible quality of raw material here. And it's just super exciting to be working alongside growers and food makers to really continue to strengthen New York's role as a leader in food production.
So if our members want to learn more about Grow New York, maybe enter next year's competition, where can they go?
Yes. Well, or attend this year's Grow New York Summit. Again, Syracuse, I said this to you at the top. I'm going to repeat it now for the podcast that, this program, the Grow New York competition and the summit, the convening of everybody in the ecosystem, has so much potential to benefit the farmers and food producers in New York State. And we are seeing that, and we are seeing hundreds of jobs be created and follow-on funding coming into the region. And that's all great. But the more vocal role Farm Bureau members take in the program, which they could do by being at the summit and by being engaged with us in the various ways that we bring the community together, the better the program is going to serve those members, right? You got to get involved for it to be really operating at its full potential. So yes, grow-ny.com. The summit's November 15th and 16th. The tickets are $50. I would never want to think that somebody didn't come because they couldn't afford those tickets. So you could reach us at grow-ny@cornell.edu, particularly folks that are interested in engaging with startups or thinking about launching a startup. And, if you have a scalable farm-based business that you want to consider bringing into the fold, our applications for next year's competition will open in the spring.
Awesome. Well, Jen, thank you so much. Best of luck with your event and the competition. And we all are hoping that more big things come from it.
Yeah, stay tuned. Thanks so much.
New York Farm Bureau is looking ahead to what's next for agriculture as well, with our conference on December 6th in Buffalo, in conjunction with our state annual meeting. It's the Focusing on the Future of Northeast Agriculture conference, with the theme being Adapt, Advance, Achieve. It will bring farmers and industry leaders together to look at the big issues facing agriculture in the next decade, including changing business and market trends, regulatory challenges, and climate change. If you're interested, go to nyfb.org and click on the events section for more information as well as to register. Finally, this week, we marked National Farmers Day. It's a day to recognize all of the hard work farmers do every day to provide for our communities and our country. And as always, thank a farmer for all that they do. Until next time on News Bites, have a great day.